Hey, this is Matt from SRTaddicts. We are here with Head of Design for SRT, Mark Trostle. Mark, thanks for having us.
My pleasure.
Thanks for inviting us. What are some of the responsibilities and day-to-day tasks involved with being Head of Design for SRT?
It's a pretty all-encompassing job, but my responsibility falls into, future Dodge product, SRT product, and Chrysler product as well. So I work on everything from the Pacifica to 800 horsepower cars that we have behind us. So it's a fun job. It's one of those things that growing up as a kid, I drew cars. To be able to do this every day and get paid for it, it's kind of a dream job for me. But being able to affect the way a vehicle looks and have that emotion come through in cars is something that I do every day and try and have fun doing it.
Awesome, the dream.
Yes.
What are some of the major differences between designer and engineer, and how do you guys work together to achieve the common goal?
I think so one of the big differences is obviously an engineer probably thinks more of how is something going to come together, the manufacturing side of things, where a designer we're always looking at how can we change something, how can we make something new and fresh, different, and challenging the status quo, so to speak. So there's always that creative tension that comes into play, but I think it's an important piece, and I think that I like to respect an engineer, provided that engineer also respects the aesthetics of a vehicle, because when those two come together, you create cool products that way. We actually have a saying that things don't look right until they're feasible. So we can create a clay model that looks outrageous, but until you can actually manufacture it, it evolves, and then when you can make it, it ends up looking the best it can be at that moment.
Well, I know your dad was a designer. How did he influence you to get where you are?
I talked about being the difference between an engineer and a designer, and and I've said this 100 times, I was the kid in high school in math class drawing cars in my math books and that, because I loved to draw and I loved cars. Obviously got that from my dad. My dad was a car designer as well. Kind of made me who I am.
You went to school with Ralph Gills?
Yes.
Was that at the creative?
We both went to College for Creative Studies.
At the same time?
Same time. We started off, it's a pretty competitive field. I remember our freshman year, we had 70 people that wanted to be car designers, and both Ralph and I graduated with 12 in our class. So every year it gets narrowed down. So highly competitive, but it's worth it. But we were classmates.
How did it end up with you guys working together?
We just both ended up, I think we were the only two out of our class that ended up going to Chrysler at the time.
So right from there you went to Chrysler?
Yeah. And ironically, both of us, had this affinity for the Viper as well, the concept that had been shown, and there had been a lot of really good Chrysler concept cars that were done at the time that drew us to the company. So
right now you have the Drive for Design contest going on. Can you speak a little about the contest and what it's all about? I know you were a winner years ago. Yeah, so like I said, fortunately, I had an influence in my father with car design, when I was younger, but when I was in high school, the Detroit Autorama car show had a car design competition for high school students. I entered it and I won it, and it really it gave me the confidence, I think, to keep going in the car design field. College for Creative Studies is a design school in Detroit. Art Center in California are the two probably biggest car design schools in the country. All car designers, even a lot in Europe as well, go to either of those two schools. So when I won that competition, it put me in that direction to attend the College for Creative Studies in Detroit. And you said it really gave you the confidence to...
Yeah, to say, what, I can do this, right? I'm competing against other people, and I won it. And so I always like to watch the competition over the years and see, other kids that were coming up, and the competition went away. And so I put it on my bucket list to bring it back.
Now, what are you looking for when it comes to choosing a winner?
Definitely that proportion, capturing, the proportion of whatever type of car it is, making it look modern, making sure that, it captures the essence of what the brand is, whether it's an Alfa Romeo, an SRT, or a Ram, just capturing the essence of what that brand stands for.
Besides the Viper, what were some of your memorable moments?
Definitely, Viper is definitely one that stands out just because of, doing the Viper. Then we designed the GTSR race car simultaneously, and that one.
You were on the race team with that?
From the design standpoint,
okay.
yeah. So, and that one was being done in secret as well. We were working with Riley to, make sure that the car met all the rules, working with, the sanctioning body to make sure we were challenging things. The goal was to try and capture the production car and the race car as much as we could. So that one really stands out as an awesome just design experience. The Hellcat and the Demon, I think, are probably two that, for me, being able to say that I, was on the team that, did the Demon is a pretty cool thing, just from the hype and the significance of the car to be a part of affecting automotive culture and history because it's something that, I love to do. I've worked on, I think the first SRT product I actually penned was the Ram SRT10 truck. That was the first one. Do you? Yeah? Nice. Awesome. Yeah. The standard cab and then the quad cab came after that.
It seems every year SRT's breaking some kind of record, the fastest this, the most horsepower that, and G-force. How do you stay on top, and how do you continue to outdo yourself?
I think that comes down to the passion of the team. I really do, is that, we don't just launch a vehicle and then say, all right, yeah, cool, let everyone catch up to us. It's, we're always thinking, we're always, what could be the next thing. Today, people always talk about, the heyday of muscle cars being, late 60s, early 70s. To me, it's right now. If you look at what modern, performance muscle cars are all about, and the performance you get with them, the safety you get with them, the fact that they stop, they have airbags, satellite radio, all these things but they're still as fast as they are. I think today is the perfect time for a modern muscle car.
Right, so here it is, huh?
So the Demon and the Viper. So it's kind of a cool thing for me, to have put so much of, my work life into these cars, to be able to have these cars in my garage. It really kind of gives me goosebumps to be able to do it, because these are the types of things I had, when I was a kid, posters in my my bedroom to be able to aspire to it. So to be able to have what I think are two of the most significant cars that we've done, FCA has done in a long time, it's a pretty cool feeling to be able to have them. I come out here and just literally will sit and look at them. Driving them is awesome, but just looking at them is
what's
great.
What's your favorite part? What really catches your eye?
It's funny that both cars have such a different soul to them. I love the Viper because of the shapes, and for me to look at these cars that I put so much time into, there's things that you have memories of developing certain things, like the hood on this car. I'll never forget the first time we had a clay model of it outside. People are like, "What are you guys doing?" The thing's just huge, and it was back to working with engineering requirements that we knew that we had to get so much, be able to take in so much air on it. Old muscle cars, old Mopars, to me, there was these functional hoods, but they weren't always designed real well. They were a little bit, kind of crude looking. So I wanted to put myself back in that time, but take the essence of those hoods, but do kind of a modern version of it. And, to me, every SRT product, it has to have a presence to it. And, the Challenger definitely is one that, stands out on the road. But, when you see this thing coming at you with this massive hood, it's got that energy behind it. But we wanted to do this kind of Demon, take the logo that we have, and how would that Demon look in another view, and have them actually coming out of the engine. Just, a little bit of Easter egg type stuff that I think our customers love. They love that, those little bits of detail on it as well. Even the interface, the underhood, the air grabber logo, all of those things are things that, as a designer, we work with our engineering counterparts to think about. There's something special to me about driving this car as well. The difference is this is absolute monster, and I love it. but there's something about this that you feel like you wear this car around you when you drive it. And then,
it's a tight squeeze
shifter,
to get in,
yeah, getting in and out isn't as easy as getting in and out of a Challenger, but it's certainly something that feels right behind it. So, the significant Vipers obviously was, the ACR. The Extreme package, and what a cool project that was, to be a part of as well. The ACR, to me, it was so significant because we didn't have to throw more horsepower at it. We did it all with engineering, with design, with aerodynamics. If there's one regret that I have, is not getting the ACR. Truthfully, I love this car. It's it's a very civilized car to drive when I want to drive it that way. But there's times where why didn't I get the ACR?
You said this is VIN number 1.
So this is VIN number 1 of 2017. So our last year of production. I was fortunate enough to be able to get VIN number 1. So there's some significance of it. Got to go to the Viper plant and watch the car being built. Got to meet a lot of the people at the plant. So I had a lot of photography that was done on the car as well to give the car, I think it gives the car that much more of a soul, that it has this history to it as well. And the Demon is actually VIN number 10.
So we're here in the Connor Assembly Plant, the former home of the Viper. What kind of emotions go through coming in here, especially now that production's ended?
Yeah, it's always cool coming back here. Spent a lot of time in this plant. There's some amazing people. I talk about cars having a soul. I think that this plant has a soul.
With the Viper not around anymore, how do you fill that void, and how do you deal with the criticism Dodge only goes in a straight line?
You look at what we've done with Demon. Obviously, that is definitely a purpose-built drag car. But then if you look a little deeper and look at Red Eye and even just a 392 wide body, those cars really perform very well on a road course. One of my pet peeves, truthfully, is that people buy cars and then expect, for example, the Demon, 965 and a quarter mile. For you or I to get to that point, it's going to take practice. They're professional drivers. So one of the pet peeves I always have is that people talk about the magic number that a car can do. It can't do this, and I disagree. I think that people I watch wide body Challengers out on a road course that will tear up cars that they're not supposed to be tearing up.
The Bilstein one that Wesley.
But even in stock form, I think. It's always important to remember the driver as well. The car will get you so far, but how good of a driver are you in that? So, I don't really see it that way. I see that we've maximized our performance. The Challenger is such a versatile car in that way that with the Red Eye and with the Demon and with everything in between that we've done, I think we really give our customers something to pull from that they can enjoy, whether it's a road course or a drag strip. And truthfully, driving to work every day, very rarely do I get to go do lap times at a road course anymore, but I can certainly beat the guy next to me pretty easily.
So the brand is SRT, Street and Racing Technology. Does going electric or autonomous ever come up as an option? Some say it's not street racing, and others will say it's the future.
As a die-hard car person, the idea of having an autonomous vehicle kind of pains me. Maybe other than when I'm in like Los Angeles or something, trying to get somewhere where it just seems to take forever. I could see the car kind of getting me there that way. But as a car enthusiast, I love to drive, and I think Street and Racing Technology will always be there for that, right? It's because of the enthusiast, because of the connection to a car. So I do think there's a place for autonomous vehicles in our culture. I think it's probably not fitting for it to be, in this kind of goosebump, world of performance vehicles that we live in. I do think that electrification can play a place in any type of vehicle, whether it's mainstream or a performance vehicle. I think there's lots of opportunity to help grow that side of it. Even though I haven't raced in a long time, it's still in my blood.
Making a comeback?
And I say, yeah, it's back to that time portion of not having as much time anymore to do those kinds of things. But it is a good thing about my job is being able to when we're developing cars is being able to go experience them at a racetrack or a drag strip.
You did Bondurant?
I've done Bondurant a few times in a road course, and then also with the Demon program as well. So it's still in my blood. It's just it's harder to find the time to do that. Yeah, but definitely have an appreciation for it, and I think that's part of what makes our brand special. Is that I'm not the only one. You've got Ralph. Jim Wilder, is one of the development engineers on the car. I could go on and on with the amount of people that have that same passion for our product, and they live it. They don't, it's not just a job. It's something that they really feel inside them, and I think that's what makes us special. Is that we're all like that, and we all come together to make these cars that we're really proud of.
With the Challengers and Chargers, how do you stick to the roots of the classics? I know we have two examples here.
That's a good question, because I think that successful car brands and car companies have certain icons that allow them, if they do a good job of continuing to evolve them, they'll be successful. Porsche 911, to me, that's a great example, right? That car from its inception to now, it's evolved, but it's still a 911. Jeep Wrangler, another good example of that. And the Viper fit that very well. It was intentional when we did the Gen 5 Viper. We wanted to make sure that we captured all the essence of the original car, refine it, more modern, but nonetheless, it was still had that flavor to it. People don't buy these products to blend in. They want them to have a personality. A vehicle will say something about that person. I always say this, I like to design cars that when you get out of them and you walk away from, you want to look back at the car, right? Yeah. And I think most car people buy a car because of that, but there's something special.
The wrong car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love our competitors because without them, we wouldn't be where we're at as well. But I think that's what separates the Challenger from our competitors, is that the Challenger has stayed true to its roots and its soul, and that's what our customers love. And you look at the demographic, the person who buys the Challenger is really a young person, yet it's inspired by the car that, was from 1970.
Where it's coming from.
Yeah, and it's one of the styling, the design of the vehicle is the #1 purchase consideration for Challenger. This is what we call the A line of the car, and this really sets up the body side of the car. From here, all the surfaces light up on it a certain way. The DLO, the pillar, all of that sets up the proportion of the car. And then if we look at the new Challenger, it has those same cues to it, but they're done in a modern way. Where they look a little bit more contemporary. When we designed the car, granted the TA was a performance car, but you look at the design of the lower, and then if you come over to this, we've captured the same headlamp flavor, but then the cooling requirements are so much more on a modern car these days. Plus the aerodynamics that go into it. The integrated splitter. All of that is developed in the wind tunnel to make it a 200-mile-an-hour car and still have the right aero balance to it. But still, the goal for us is to take that essence of that car and put it here, a little bit more modern, all of the function that goes into it. And what my job is to try and do is put even more attitude into it.
And speaking of modern touches, this is a wide body package.
This is a wide body package, and the wide body was that was another fun project for us to work on in the studio. And it was all about putting a wider tire on the car. One of the things that we get asked a lot, customers ask, well, why don't you put a 305, something larger? We can't do everything the aftermarket can do. A lot of our testing has to do with the car, fully loaded, weight, luggage in the back, full jounce, full turn. We have to design a vehicle to make sure that the customer can't potentially damage the car, whether or not that scenario would ever happen. So those things are limitations for us. So by putting the wide body flares on it, it let us do a much wider tire, but still meet all of those functional objectives that we have in designing a car.
And this hood came from the Hellcat?
Right. So what we've been doing as we develop our price classes and continue, we have our new Hellcat hood. we've taken the previous Hellcat hood, and now it's available on the Scat Pack as well. And it's something that we like to be able to give our customers the option. And the different packages allow for people that have different price points, to have a vehicle that has that emotion to it. But the badges speak volumes on the fenders about what's under the hood, and that says a lot about the car as well. I love to wash my cars. I love to touch the cars. I get just as frustrated as our customers do
trying to get in there
and clean it. So if you notice, like my hand will fit in here, and that was actually intentional because I wanted to make sure that you could wash the car pretty easily
without taking the wheels off.
Without taking the wheels off. Yeah. So that was literally that was an intentional design piece to it. Be able to get in there. I hate dirty Brembos, so being able to get in there and clean those off as well.
So here we have a 2019 Hellcat Charger.
Yeah. As bright as some of our colors are, I love this straight shade, non-metallic color, because it has that same attitude just on the other end of the spectrum. It's a little more subtle than the vivid colors. This obviously has our new functional grille as well, with the new texture in it also. Whereas the Challenger, the lit air catcher headlamp takes air into the airbox. This now takes air into the airbox as well on this side as well. Plus, it helped modernize the car just a little bit, make it a little bit fresher looking as well. Rather than having a black piece, needing to have a black piece on here, we've been able to accomplish all the aerodynamic, the front downforce that we needed with just this piece here and the outboards as well. It's amazing how much moving these 5-10 millimeters, how sensitive the aero effect that it will have on the vehicle as far as creating lift or reducing front lift on it. It's one of the things I love as an industrial designer is, I'm trying to make the car beautiful, but it's that science that goes into it as well that I don't know if every customer truly understands it. But it's there. It's that function and that form working together.
So one of the things I know, the Viper wing, 1776 millimeters. Did that just happen to work out, or?
It did not. And we spent a lot of time in the wind tunnel. The Viper, the ACR Extreme wing. We were in there at night playing with the widths of the wing, as well as the end plates and the gurney on the back of it all affected. And we were so close to 1776, we said, hey, let's make it 1776 for America. Again, back to, we talk about aerodynamics and spoiler development. This, we spent a lot of time in the wind tunnel developing this spoiler as well. It's all about function, doing some subtle things in here to, give it a little bit of shape, also, potentially helping visibility as well.
And you do a clay model for all of them?
We will always do a clay model, or in the case of a spoiler, we will even develop it electronically, and then we'll actually mill it out of foam, and we'll put it on a vehicle. And then if we have to make tweaks to it, we'll actually add clay to it. Then we can take that and take it to the wind tunnel and actually test it there as well.
Yeah, I was wondering how much is involved before it makes it to the wind tunnel.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate for always having a clay model or a foam model. The computer, lets you do so many things more efficiently in designing a vehicle. As far as evaluating something in front of you, I don't know if that technology is perfect yet for us. So the fact that we have vehicles in our driveway that you can go touch, it's important for us to always mill them out and evaluate them as well, to how the customer is going to see them as well.
Now, moving forward, where do you see SRT in the next 5 to 10 years?
That's kind of a leading question about where am I going? Where are we going? I like to say that we always listen to our customer. We always try and do the right thing. We've never let any of our passionate customers down. So I think as long as we continue that mindset, we'll be in a good place.
All right, Mark, I just want to thank you for your time, having us come, showing us around.
My pleasure.
I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with in the future years.
My pleasure. It was great talking to you. I love what you guys do. I love the passion, and I love that you help bring our community together, because that's what fuels us. So appreciate it.
Thanks again.
Thank you.